Well, hello. And we've had a little bit of a time zone mix up. And so I'm going to stay on here for a little bit and try to catch the people who come in early. And then I will repost to my community page about the right time when Kim will be here because she was reading 1 o'clock Pacific Daylight Time, which is like 2 hours from now. And hi, Jane the Seeker. Hi, Sharon Sipe. As I was just beginning to explain, and maybe you heard me say this, Kim and I have had a time zone problem. Nothing new for me, getting them screwed up. But she said very clearly in her email to me she wanted to go at 1 o'clock Pacific Daylight Time, and I miss the PDT and turn it into Central Daylight Time. So, and um, I just re-looked at everything because I always have people come through early, and she was not here 15 minutes ago. And then I went back and carefully reread all of the emails, and I am so sorry to all of you um, who are coming through, and I am going to explain that it's not her fault, it's my fault. I need to learn how to read, and so I'm just going to tape a little thing right now as a mea culpa, and then I am going to post that we will be on in 2 hours. I cannot. The crystal of today is Labradorite, and somebody already commented, and it was a perfect stone for Kim being on here. Labradorite means to take action, and I actually have a very pretty Labradorite stone here. This is gorgeous. They come from Labrador or Northern Europe, either of those two places. And it means it allows you to connect with the mysteries and magic in your life, assists in awakening the magic of your soul, brings deep awareness of your spiritual knowledge, allowing you to manifest in your those things into your day-to-day life, which I think is something Kim's really good about, telling you how to work with your spirit day to day. This is a picture of it that's in the book, and it's their two-word or single-word sort of keyword about it is to take action. And it opens and activates your third eye, and it supports your ability to integrate spiritual experiences into the physical world. And then a second card fell out when it fell out, and that was rhodochrosite, acceptance. So I'm going to have to accept the fact that I suck at time zones. Powerful crystal for self-healing and acceptance. Who's this coming in on? Oh, okay. Decline. I had a phone call, but it's not an area code I recognize, and I know it's not her. So, rhodochrosite brings energy of unconditional love, assists in balancing and soothing and healing emotions, probably why I'm sitting here so calmly instead of losing it completely. Enhances self-love and compassion, supports who we are when we are emotionally overwhelmed, assists you in surrendering and letting go. I use a lot of rhodochrosite in a lot of my crystal grids. I use a raw crocite, though, that's not as pink and pretty as that, and assists you in becoming more self-aware. So those were our crystals for the day, for those of you who want to know. Hello, Nancy Dean, everyone. Good. Angelita, please send me the scheduling on that. I'm sorry, we had someone who ordered a garden and a grid, and the garden got mailed, but the grid didn't get put on my schedule. So I'm doing that. That's what I'm going to do when we get off air. I'm going to build. I have 4 crystal grids. Well, I've got 3. One's already built. I've got 4 crystal grids, and I'll show those today at 3 o'clock. If you come back, you can see them. They're real pretty. They're real interesting. There's one that's called Change. It's real interesting because it's very symmetrical, except there's 5 crystals that break out of their space, and that's the number 5 for Change. It's a lot of fun. Yes, your labradorite and your celestite would get along really well. I did have some questions that you're asking. I'm going to ask Kim them too, but Someone want to know, how do we learn our guides' names? I don't know how she learned hers. I learned my first guide's name when I was 69, and I was at a Brian Weiss conference, and he hypnotized us to go meet our guides, and I met Addie. And after I met Addie, I started doing more automatic writing, which I learned from a book called Angel Speak, which I talk about all the time. It's like this thick. You can read it in an afternoon. It's got wonderful guidance, and they also can help you finding your guides and finding your name things. And then somebody asked if people who watch the readers and seem to be enlightened and comment and make all sorts of things, but they could be anti-vaxxers. I grew up in a medical family. I really don't understand anti-vaxxers. I grew up before there was a polio vaccine. I was alive and a small child when that graced our lives. I actually lost friends, kids I played with on my block to polio. I do not understand the insanity of anti-vaxxers. And I think it's insane. Yeah, y'all can, we stood here for 3 hours. She's going to show up. I'm on the link that's going to get her through. Anyway, the other question I got was Jane's here, and it says she does mediumship, but occasionally when she's doing mediumship, she takes on the accents of the people she's reading. I'm going to leave that to Kim, because if you know much about me, you know I've done mediumship. It's when they push through and say, I want to talk to my family member now, I'll go along with it, but it's not what I do. But I've been around enough mediums to know that you can take on, actually, I used to work with an astrologer who also is a medium, and she almost took on the physical features of the person she was channeling. Let's see, and then languages we use to speak to our guides, whatever language you have. I don't know if you've ever seen any of the ghost hunting shows, but they tend to do the thing where no matter what language the ghost speaks, they can understand it. I've seen a few shows where they'll actually bring in a foreign language speaker if they think it's going to be easier to communicate with an entity or a person whose spirit is locked in a certain place. Okay, Angelita, I'll pull a card for your son. Let's see which deck do we want to pull. Okay, he's 45. That's how old my son is. He is 45 this year. My oldest one, not tech support, the old guy. The one who has children. And he looks all of 45 because he has children. Okay, Angelita's son. Okay, what's coming up for him in the coming year? I'm going to pull 3 for you. Let's see. They did shuffle right. I got a card that's not supposed to be in there. It's one that's this particular deck, the Marchetti deck. He signs a card in the deck, and it's just a card. It's not a card that you read. And he ended up being in here, so that tells me I didn't get a very valid shuffle. So, Angelita's son. 4 of Wands, this is a very pretty card. The 4 of Wands says that he's going to be building some really good foundations. As a matter of fact, this year has been a foundational year for moving forward in the next year. And the 4 of Coins. Right now, I think things may be a little tight for him. He's having to really watch his money, but he's doing it in a wise manner. But he needs to be careful he doesn't become too controlling. And his last card is the 7 of Wands. I think the coming year for him is going to be one of where he's going to have to be alert and in charge. I think that's kind of been what's been going on around him. If today is his birthday, it's not. I'll tell you what personal year he's going into, and you can look this up on YouTube. You can look up personal year or go to Ann Perry. I just ran into a thing where she did this. It's called a 9-year cycle, and he's at 9 6s. 15. 19, 20. Okay, he's going into a 2-year, and the way you figure that out is you add together his birth date, which is 9 plus 6, and then you add up the digits in 2021, which is a 5. And so his birthday, and then you simplify all that down to one number, and it came out to be 20, which 20 plus 0 is 2. He's going into a 2-year. Last year, I bet you there were a lot of things he did that he kind of broke away from stuff and sort of started some new things. And this is a year where he begins to coalesce all the changes he had in the last year. 2 years is a good year. He's going to have a real ability to communicate with other people. But go look at personal year cycles. Let's see, Charlie Watts. Someone wants me to pull one of the Talking to Heaven cards for Charlie Watts. I don't know Charlie. I don't know most people. Let's see if we get anything about Charlie Watts. I do want to tell you, though, that my high school, love of my life from high school was a drummer. So I like drummers. Okay, let's do Charlie Watts. And then somebody else wants me to... do you pull around? Okay. And then someone wants to know about a trip to Houston, so we will. Charlie Watts. I'm not dead. That's sort of a shock to the rest of the world. I think he is dead, but we'll read what I am not dead translates into in this book. Only in my physical body is gone. And this would be perfect for him, because now that and know that our bodies are just a small part of who we really are. I'm aware that you may miss my voice or my physical presence, but my spirit and soul is very much alive. The times when you feel my energy, I will really be next to you. We all have a unique energy fingerprint. You recognize mine when it's with you. Trust that feeling. I am actually now more alive than before. Gone are all the distractions and stressors that I allowed to rob me from the enjoyment of my life. Now I see how trivial all that was. And all that really mattered was love, family, friendships, caring, and helping. And I don't know if you know about Charlie Watts, but he was sort of a weirdo in the world of rock people, because he had a long, stable marriage and a house like out in the country. I mean, he was not in town playing around like the rest of them were. I now see I never had anything to fear. There's no death. Nothing bad can ever happen to anyone that lives in the spiritual truth. Of course, it's important to be smart and careful, and always follow your spirit's guidance. But don't forsake joy for fears, because there's nothing truly to fear. And I think he lived his life like that. So I think that's what Charlie Watts had to say. Trip to Houston. Plan on being a good trip. Can you guys confirm that? Yep. If I don't put cards away, I can't find them again. So we're going to pull one card on Trip to Houston. And then I will roll. Okay, I'm going to be at 3 o'clock my time, which is 4 o'clock your time if you're on the East Coast, and it's 2 o'clock if you're in Mountain Time. And I can only do that when I'm thinking about them in rational order, so. Yes, BC Mom. I have, we've updated. She wants to know about the eggs, but I'm going to do this lady's card for her trip to Houston. Oh, you're going to have a good time. It's going to be bright. It's going to be very enlightening. It's going to be lovely. The Page of Swords is a person who speaks the truth. You're just going to have a good time, and you're not going to be under any pressure to be anything but who you are, which is always lovely when you're on a trip. Okay, about the eggs. I have contracted with a company in Wisconsin called Game Crafters, and I have contracted with them to build the eggs out. But because this is a little different than what they normally do, these eggs are a little different than what anyone normally does. Alma, my artist, and I redesigned the interior medallions so that they're easier to put the crystals on. I have an appointment Wednesday to go to the rock shop, and they're going to arrange to get the right size crystals made for me, or they're probably going to be mostly already made beads because that's how tiny the crystals are that are in them. And I'm going to get enough crystals from the rock shop to send to Wisconsin to make 7 sets of the 7 eggs. And that's what I'm going to start with, and I'm going to see how I look, how they feel, what's going on with them. I'm feeling really good about them, but there's a whole lot more to manufacturing something. I mean, the garden was relatively easy, and and that wasn't easy when it came down to getting all the scarves. I mean, the scarves come from Canada, the crystals come from Austin, the fitter and kidder is in Austin, he puts it all together. All of the mind work comes from me. Okay, I'm going to... Oh, you're a 5 and a 5-year, Jane? Yeah, my daughter's a 5. Her life path is 5. And it's lots, always changing. Thank you. Good morning to all of you. Okay. About the garden. If you own a garden, you should have gotten a couple of different emails from me. I sent out a survey and it had all the class times and said, pick your first, pick your second. And I got over 40 responses, which is really good because I have about 70 plus of you that have gardens. I forgot to put a place for you to put your email. So I got 40 responses from somewhere. I don't know where. So you got a second email with a place for you to put your email so that I can send the written materials. I will show you some of the written materials. I have them here. Everybody's going to get a PDF of a workbook like this, and you can see air, is the spot on the garden, and it has the stones, so you can put notes you have of stones and notes you want to make about air. And it's going to be a workbook as we work through the garden and learn the elements of the garden and how to work with them. And there's also a bunch of pages of my visions in the garden, and you have 2 options. You can either print the visions out in alpha order, so it starts with air and ends with water, or you can print them out in date order of how I saw them. And the reason I did that is when I read them in date order, there's clearly a path of how the thoughts were coming through for the garden. I included for 8/8 for Lionsgate the lovely letter that Vivian sent me where she met her lion, which ends up as her, not just her spirit animal, but it ends up she's Haitian, and on their home planet, she's part Haitian. She's a crossbreed, and on their planet, they're lions. So it's kind of fun. Okay, Rosemary, I don't know what you want me to do. Yes, and that booklet you just saw is the one that I'm going to be mailing. Vivian doesn't have a printer, so I promised her, since she's got actual pages and has worked with me on developing these materials, I'd get her a copy. I cannot afford to print this for everyone, and I certainly could not afford to mail it to everyone. But we have love from Vivian in Puerto Rico. And Rosemary, each of the last 20 years, as my birthday approached, I get the urge to try and connect with my son Peter, who refuses to communicate with me. I don't know what to say. I mean, you can't make someone, maybe if you just backed off, and I don't know how you cannot do this, but as a mother, I understand. But learn to just say, you do you, I'm doing me, I'm here, I love you, you've got to get past it, because that kind of stubbornness is just insane. Skywalking with Moon. Yeah, Mr. Bill gives you 2 thumbs up, by the way. Uh, uh, Skywalking has now worked with 2 of my friends, and they're people that know me and talk to me almost every day, but there just gets a point, especially when you're a reader, you get close friends. Sometimes you can't help them as much as you'd like to. She's really opening the door for them and really helping them. So if you just want to call her or look her up, Skywalking with Moon, and see what she does. We've done a whole show about it. I'm in the changes I've seen in people I've observed. I think she's a real deal. And so does my friend, who doesn't call me wildly enthusiastic about much very often. And he was wildly enthusiastic this morning. So he's feeling so much better. Okay, guys, I've been doing this for 21 minutes. And for those of you who came in late and don't understand, obviously Kim's not here. She'd be on this other side of the screen, one side or the other. We're going at 3. We're going at 1 p.m. Pacific Daylight Time. And I really want to get her on. I really want to talk to her about how she does what she does. This Thursday, my brain's getting kind of wiped here. I'm checking. I have, it's wrong phone. Let's see. Okay. My phones used to be connected, and now they won't allow them to connect. So my calendars are not connected. And they go, "Why do you have 2 phones?" I have a phone that's my phone, so that I can get in touch with the people I need to get in touch with that I've had for a long time. And it is on Wednesday at 1 o'clock. And this one I know is right. This is Jeffrey Ripe Color, and we're going to be discussing sacred geometry, and we're going to be discussing color, which is a whole study unto itself. So if you're interested in that sort of thing, that will be Wednesday, and that will be at 1 o'clock, because I already talked to him. No, Rachel, can you sit and talk to your guys? Yeah, I talk to Addie all the time. Yeah, Rosemary, if you walk away, it's the theory of if you think, and you're just pushing it away, just let it go and it'll come back in its own time. You can chat with your guides and you can ask them. I don't know if you guys have been watching Andrea on Lilac Lantern, but she's had this thing where she had a party during sleep time, and she invited anybody who wanted to come, had to wear purple. She made it easy for me, they had to wear purple. But she had you put in that mind in your mind just before you went to sleep, that see if your dreams or your spirits or your guides or whatever could take you to her party. And it's really fascinating because she thinks there was a purple cat at the edge of the stage and she thought it was me. And yeah, so there's lots of ways you can talk to your guides. I was like so unaware of them, but they ran through my life. Now I look back and I see the only reason I escaped from something or it wasn't worse for me was because of my guardian, Frank, who is a big guy. And one time a medium was talking to me and she said, "Oh, I want to look at the angels and guides you have around you." And she goes, "Oh my God." And I said, "What's wrong?" And she said, "Who's this man?" And I said, I looked around and was like, it was kind of getting empty over here. I'm like, "Frank, you can just come home. This lady's okay. I'm allowing her to enter my energy." He did not want anybody entering my energy. He was just not there. And Sue, I'm gonna put up the thing on Tuesday about the sacred geometry. If you have specific questions about sacred geometry, if you could get them to me early, that would be very helpful, because otherwise, it might be a point that's really important to you, and it might be just something we don't think about when we get to chattering. And if you've never watched Jeffrey, you get chattering with Jeffrey and you get all over the place. It ends up Jeffrey had as a house guest the lady who wrote this book. when she first had it published years ago. She came to New York and he stayed there. The key is listening. Yeah, you have to listen. Sometimes you'll see an article and you'll realize, oh, I was thinking about that. And that's your guides are taking you to that article so you can see it. There's a lot of ways you can run into the divine every day. You are your own divine tool. Angelita, okay, when you come, I do a little 3-card reading of where you are, then we select out of the deck. It's not a matter of, the reading is the selection of the sacred geometry card out of the deck. I'll show you the ones. Right now I've been working on this one, Delight. These are the ones I'm going to build today. So the reading sort of takes care of itself. What happens is we set up a reading time. I do 3 cards before I meet you. I make notes of those. I have a book that's nothing but, this whole book is full of people I've done grids for, and you'll have your page in there, and I will make notes, and then we will go through, draw the card that is meaningful to you. And sometimes it's not the card you think. I had a priest who pulled romantic love. But when you read the whole energy around romantic love, what he was getting the grid for was to create a homeless shelter. And he feels very tied and romantically connected to helping these people. So, and when he got the grid, it was all pink and warm, and he fired it up on Good Friday, and he said since then he got the funding for his shelter, so he's real happy. Thank you, Rosemary. That's a lovely thing to say to me. Did I participate the night that? Yes, I did. I kind of went, okay, let's go see what's going on. And what I saw from my perspective, and I wrote her a note about it, I went to this place. There were a lot of people there. I was standing kind of at the edge of a stage or a staging area, and I realized there was so much energy and so many people that weren't used to traveling like that, and there was a lot of chaos around me, and I don't do chaos, so I left. But she said she saw me. She was like in this stage. She saw a purple cat with a long, luscious purple coat, the color of my hair. I don't know which color. I mean, my hair changes color. Y'all know that. But she said, and she kind of knew it was me, and then she turned around and it was gone. So, and I won't create a kind of virtual thing like that. My concern about that is who else rides in. I have a shell around me when I read. I have control around me when I read for this group. I have a control around me. I am not one of those readers who thinks there's no such thing as evil. I know that there's evil out there, and I don't want them near me. And that's the sort of thing they'd like to go to. Okay, guys. So we've now done 28 minutes, so in 1 hour and 30 minutes, I'll be back up with hopefully Miss Kim. And I did a lovely roll on this reading, on this thing, and what I got, because remember, I don't do yes/nos with my garden, but what I saw was clarity was coming from the heart, from love, that we were going to have true visions through our third eye, that the body was the interesting one. It was future, present, and air, and that we're manifesting and bringing in all kinds of new things. And then our mind was in the tree of life, which is complete clarity on what's going on around us. But it all comes from a spirit of understanding of the past. So, activating a grid. I just heard Crystal Garden. How often do I have a grid? The first grid I ever made, if you've heard this story before, but I made it for my family just to see if they worked. And I built it, and within 24 hours I had won a free reading from Dorothy Morgan. And the way I got it was I had found her the month before, written her a note about how I appreciated her interpretation of something. She goes through and she calls out all the new emails, and then she just pulls a name, and she pulled mine. And it didn't have that I was a tarot reader. It was under my own name. And went, and she ended up doing a wonderful reading. And so I said, I guess that's a prosperity. And my friend in Denver got 2 job offers the next day, and her name was under the grid. So we started seeing it come in. And actually, when I look back at all the people around that grid, because I started it in February 2019, almost all of them have had. One person didn't get what they sort of thought they wanted, but they had the offer to do it. They just didn't carry forward with it. So, okay. Much appreciation for y'all showing up a little bit early. Hope you show up later, because Kim and I are going to have a good time. We'll go over all those questions with her. And if you guys would like me, I can do a sample of what I go through with someone to create a grid. What the reading is like. It's not very long. It's kind of really short. And if Angelita, I know you and I have to get together and do that. If you wouldn't mind doing that live, we don't have to see your face. I could just have your voice, but it'd be better if your face could be here too. Then we could do that, and people could see how a grid, that part of the grid process. Okay, guys. Everybody, apparently there's birthdays out there, all kinds of fun going on. Well, I'm about to make the party stop. Thank you for all your thumbs up. Oh yeah, good. Go do a thumbs up, even if it's because this is going to go out as a stream, and then there'll be another one later today. I'll just look like I'm hyper streaming. Y'all have a good day.